This week on the Art of SBA Lending.
When you're looking to ultimately sell your bank, the franchise value is in core deposits.
I was in a session today, which we can't talk about. We did a blood pact of secrecy, but leadership came up. I was in something with leadership, and it's such a small world. If you're not good, people are going to find that out
right.
too.
That's ultimately going to be revealed.
And who are the top 5 worst people in the industry?
Worst?
I'm just kidding.
Let me bring my list up.
In 2020, the banking industry was forced to accelerate into the future, and now there's more innovation than ever before. And many of my colleagues are embracing these tools, and they're winning. But the banks that are slow to adapt, well, frankly, I'm concerned. Here's an example. Bank A uses Lumos and has over 1 billion data points at their fingertips that allow them to, within seconds, access all this data. Local economic data, industry insights, even a predicted expected loss. And Bank B, well, their underwriter spends hours Googling it. Which bank do you think is going to be winning 5 years from now? Guys, we can finally make credit decisions using actual data. Let Lumos take your small business lending to the next level with cutting-edge analytics by going to lumosdata.com and scheduling your demo today.
So I was doing a lot of research into you because I didn't know a lot about you, so I had to kind of stalk you a little bit. You went to run a division at one point for a bank out in Iowa.
Yes.
What were you thinking, Diane?
What was the story there?
You're like if Southern California was a person, it's like you. I mean, that is a compliment.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I feel like my roots are definitely here. And so when I got that call about starting that nationwide program, I thought the same thing as you. That's crazy. But it ended up to be this remote opportunity, and it sounded really exciting. And it was to build a nationwide group, that was right in my wheelhouse. So
that would have been cool.
Yeah.
It never got nationwide.
Well, it did for a split second. And that was one of the oddest experiences and probably the biggest learning experience that I've had throughout this whole.
Really?
Yeah, because they hired me to do that. And 8 months into maybe 6 months into the job, they came to me and said, "We've changed our minds." Yeah.
Wouldn't there be an extensive interview process leading up to that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I probably by Zoom interviewed with no less than 10 people, and then in person went twice, and it was down to me and another gentleman who I came to know later, but at the time I didn't know who my competition was, and we were staying at the same hotel in Iowa at Waterloo, big town, if you're a farmer. And so I was selected. Finally, it came down to me, and it was a great opportunity, and the people were amazing. I
love my Midwest people.
Yes, I mean, really down to earth, really salt of the earth folks, and for no fault of anybody's necessarily. It was just the way things all happened with that bank.
It happens extremely often. It's unfortunate when it happens that soon, but I mean, we all move around because the people that run the banks, they make decisions that aren't always the decisions we want.
Sure, that's very true.
Mergers, acquisitions. I saw a lot of shifts. By the way, what do you make of this? I saw a lot of shifts recently from these national shops, kind of a lot of broker-driven volume, BDOs all over the country, all that. And then a lot of them pulled back in the past, 18 months or so and said, hey, we only want to lend in footprint now. You saw it with Umpqua, Customers Bank, and it's like Michigan Credit Union, they want to be more like relationship lenders now. Yes. What do you make of that? What do you think is causing that trend?
In my opinion, I think it's the shift to all the banks need deposits. And so the only way you're going to get deposits is if you have relationships. And the franchise value, when you're looking to ultimately sell your bank, the franchise value is in core deposits. It's not in the lending. The lending drives income, but at the end of the day, it's the core deposits. It's not hot money. It's the people and their nickels and dimes that add franchise value.
I like to think that I'm special and we're special, within the bank.
Yeah.
But it is crazy. I mean, our friends of the pod, Veritex Bank, that merger was acquired or announced on Monday. And that's probably the biggest merger in the SBA world that I've seen in years, because it's Huntington's number 1 for units,
Mm-hmm.
and then and Veritex like top 30 basically. They've got a huge SBA team, and the banks are merging at a high level. Tens of billions of dollars worth of assets coming together.
Right.
SBA is probably a small piece of all of that, but in our world, that's everything.
Right.
And it's like that's when these shakeups occur. And then people move around, and it's just like a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Within 10, 20 years, it's like 1 degree of separation.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. And I like to think, like, I consider myself a nester in more ways than one. But so I was with Pacific Premier for
I remember that.
12 years.
Long run there.
Yeah. And
impressive. That's rare.
I really, really had to think about this Iowa thing. And so I contemplated it for a long time, and it was such a big decision for me because of the, fact that I'd been at PPB so long.
Speaking of, working with a bunch of people, there's you think of all the people you worked with over the years. I'm just curious, what are some of the most talented people that you've worked with, and what made them so talented at what they do?
What comes to mind is a boss that I had. He's since passed away, which is very sad. But I adored this man, and why he was so successful, in my opinion, was he was just real with people. So when you were talking to him, he made you think that you were the most important person in the world in that moment. And he genuinely listened to what you had to say. And it didn't even have to be about banking or the business at hand. Whatever the topic, he was paying attention, and you felt like he cared. I don't think it was an act. I think he was just super genuine.
Yeah, some people are wired like that.
Yeah. And so it kind of translated to business. And so kind of to know him was to love him. And he was so trustworthy that I think that fueled his success.
And it's so rare too, because it's the people that are really driven to get to those higher levels tend to not be the ones that are like that, humble enough to just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
And focus on the other person. There are a lot of them, if you're really motivated to excel in your career, you're thinking about yourself and what you need to say and do to get to those next levels.
Definitely. Type A all the way. And he was to a certain extent, but you're right. I haven't met anybody that I would put in the same camp as him at all. But I think that speaks to the fact that he went so far on that. So you don't have to necessarily be the opposite of that and be uncaring and just, a narcissist or, thinking only about your own success. If you pay attention to other people, I think you can still be a success,
Yeah. And, I was in a session today, which we can't talk about. We did a blood pact of secrecy, but leadership came up. I was in something with leadership, and I was thinking, now that I've been in a leadership position now the past couple of years, and it's how do you know if you are a good leader? Because is it judged by those below you on the org chart or above you on the org chart? And if it's below, they're not going to just tell you you're being a bad leader.
Right.
They're going to still tell you because you're their boss.
Exactly.
Right? How do you know?
Yeah. Well, so what I've come to find in my career is that you don't always know in the moment, because they're not going to, and if they do tell you you're great, it's platitudes and you can't really trust in that moment. But I look at all the people that I've led over the years, and I can only count on one hand the number of people that would probably have anything negative to say about me. And I'm not being conceited. That's not what I mean. It's just that I don't think I have that effect on people that they leave with a bad taste in their mouth. So to me, that's the litmus test.
Yeah, you kind of find out later.
Yeah.
If you do move somewhere else and someone follows you, they're like, oh, to me, that's a huge compliment. It's
yes.
Oh, you're willing to follow me, and almost put your career on my shoulders in a way.
Right.
Which I'm that's a lot of pressure.
Yes, 100%. But
then you want to perform.
You kind of, for instance, here, when I took this job, what I heard, the feedback I got from the people that I'm now managing was that they'd heard good things about me.
Right.
So that's always refreshing,
Yeah. Yes, and it's such a small world if you're like not good, like people are going to find that out
Right.
too.
That's ultimately going to be revealed.
And who are the top 5 worst people in the industry?
Worst?
I'm just kidding.
Let me bring my list up.
So you've done a few different jobs.
Yeah.
You're leading the division. You've led divisions in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a BDO.
Yeah.
You've been a sales manager.
Yes.
Those are all, kind of like a lot of us like could bounce around between those different positions. And I'm just curious, like how you think about each position, like what is the hardest parts of all of those different positions? What's kind of the crux of starting with where you're at now, a division manager? Like what's your job there?
My job right now is to manage the entire SBA department. So underneath me are credit, processing, and servicing. So those 3.
What about sales?
Oh, sorry, I left out sales. That's the most.
Usually people leave out servicing.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah. So sales, credit, processing, and servicing. So 4.
So that all rolls up.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with it all.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what's sort of the crux at, like, how will you know if you're a successful division manager?
At this point, I think it would be the feedback from the people that I work for. And then the other measurements certainly are the, level of delinquencies, the production volume, those types of things, the obvious things.
Production, delinquencies,
Low defaults.
getting the guarantee honored.
Yes.
Does that fall under you?
Yes.
Yeah. That's an important one.
Yeah.
So then how is that different than a sales manager?
I feel like a sales manager, your job is to manage the sales group, and generally you don't have the credit, processing, or servicing underneath you. You're strictly managing a sales force. And that's my experience. And it's different because I think in those shops, generally you have more sales folks, and then the expectation to produce is greater.
Mm-hmm. What about the people? Like, do BDOs have like different types of personalities that you have to kind of manage versus underwriters, closers, servicing?
Yes. And I would say, like, what I always used to say about my BDOs, and I still do, is they're like snowflakes. There's no 2 are alike. And so you can't manage them the same way because obviously you have to deal with different personalities. And so you can't do everything with one broad brush. So I just try to manage individually, and what I try to do is emulate what that individual that I told you, and make them feel important and listen to them, because I really have taken that away. That I think that's important, that to make not in a sly way, but make them feel genuinely like you care, and because I do. I mean, it's so funny. The reason I like to be a manager as opposed to just a BDO and kind of doing my own thing is I have a nurturing component, that a need to nurture. And so that's where I get that, I think.
Yeah. And if you are able to kind of lead BDOs and you see them grow in their career, that could be rewarding too.
Yes, 100%.
And it's easy to measure too, because, or maybe it's just because I'm so close to it coming up as a BDO, but I always look for like the quantity, which is production. That's easy to measure. Quality, which is like sort of your conversion. To me, it's like, if you know your deal, have good packages, like you're going to put deals in the system, they're going to get approved, get closed, versus a lot of deal fallout.
Right. Throwing things against the wall type stuff.
Exactly. And then just playing nice. Like, what are the underwriters and closers saying about these BDOs? What are they, excited to pick up their deals, or are they like, I don't want to work with this person anymore?
Yeah.
So if I see improvement in any of those areas, I feel like that is good. I feel good about that. But then when you're managing other division or other departments within the division, like underwriting and closing, is it harder to manage those individual players, or are you really managing the closing manager and underwriting manager who then are leading those teams?
Yeah, that's exactly what the structure is. So
before we get into the episode, I want to tell you a quick story. I was at the BDO retreat earlier this year, sitting next to Dustin Baker and one of the Shatterbox learners that he had recruited into the SBA industry. Her name is Sarah. And Sarah told me that she closed $10 million in her first 6 months as a BDO. I look over at Dustin and I asked him, why would anyone hire an $8 to $12 million producer anymore? Sarah is one of many Shatterbox learners who has proven that you can take a smart young person with no SBA experience, teach them SBA, and in many cases, they will outproduce seasoned BDOs right out of the gate. Why are we so willing to hire a mediocre BDO with a six-figure salary when you can hire your next rock star, someone with unlimited potential, for half the price? You have no more excuse. Shatterbox has created the best learning platform ever created for the SBA lending industry. Join the 20 plus Shatterbox clients who have already taken the plunge on building talent from the ground up. I'm going to leave a link down below just for Art of SBA listeners. So if you want to learn how Shatterbox can help you hire and invest in bright young talent without breaking the bank, reach out and set up a discovery call today.
I manage the managers, the people that run the processing,
Gotcha.
underwriting, and so
So
forth.
that's a big difference because now you're managing managers.
Right.
So that's okay. Now, what about a BDO? That's the funnest one, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because they, again, no two are alike, and they, for the most part, they require little supervision, or they're
You're doing your own
autonomous
thing.
because that's why they are in that position, right? They like autonomy.
But what's the worst day of a BDO's career look like? Like for me, it was like getting a loan decline that you really believed in. That's like the low point for me as a BDO, because it's not all. I mean, a lot of people glamorize the BDO position,
Right.
But to me, it's just really extreme because like you can have a good day, but you can also have a bad day.
Really, truly, there's so many highs and lows, and you're right. Each one is extreme. So, and everybody thinks that the BDO role is so glamorous and so easy, but when you get that deal declined, how long were you working on the deal? I mean, months and months of work that you've put into that only to have it declined. So that is devastating. And I think how I manage that is I'm right there in the trenches with that person, because their defeat is my defeat, and I feel it for them, I mean, I have BDOs that don't work for me that used to, but work somewhere else. And I relish their successes, and I'm proud of them. And so I just, for me, my heart is in what they do, be it good or bad or indifferent. I just feel everything. And so I think that's why I like this job so much, is I have the opportunity to be around people and help them to grow and learn from things. I mean, even in defeat, we learn something, right? There's always a lesson.
Yeah, a good leader can make a world of difference with a team. I mean, every team needs a good leader. The BDO position to me is, like we said, extremely high highs and low lows. But I'm just curious, what were you like as a BDO? What was your approach to being a BDO?
When I was a BDO, I had little kids. And so the reason I liked being a BDO is it did give me a lot of flexibility. And so I would, work nights, like late into the night when they were asleep, or, my schedule would kind of be around their schedule. And I loved it for the fact that I was available for them. But, you did work a lot of hours, because being a mom isn't a cakewalk either,
Some BDOs are very aggressive
Uh-huh.
and don't take no for an answer very well. Some BDOs are very analytical, like to get into the weeds. And so there's just all these different approaches I've seen work.
Yeah. So I would say I'm more empathetic, because I have worked in all those positions. So I understand what the underwriter's going through and saying. And so I kind of get that. But I also, I need to make the deal work. So I think I just try to be, Switzerland, and just try to make nice with everybody so the whole thing comes together. Because if you what I've found is if you get an attitude, or you try to pull the I'm great card, or anything, or flex a lot, that's just met with a bunch of animosity, and you just don't get anywhere,
Right.
It's sort of like the waiter that's going to spit in your soup, tick them off. It's going to spit on your food,
I've never heard that one before.
You haven't?
So like an underwriter is going to
Yeah.
act out. No, it's so smart though, because it's like you have to think counter to how you would think, right? Like I need to get this deal done. So that means I need to push and push to get this deal done. which maybe it works to get that deal done. But what happens when the next deal behind it comes and you've got to work with those same people
Right.
to get it underwritten and close, and you've burnt all your relationships? And there's a lot of BDOs that just really like their deals. They get really attached to their deals, which I totally understand. I've been there.
Yeah.
But you have to think really smart about how you want to navigate all of these different, challenges we have within the loan process.
Yeah. Because there's certainly a lot of challenges, so many layers and so many levels.
Yeah. And there's friction, and that's how it should be, because you have credit trying to protect the house
Right.
and sales trying to hit their goals. So, but you can come together. Like, I love when my credit team is always thinking like sales and understanding of that we're out here going into the market, trying to get people to do business with us. We've said we can do the deal, we move it in. Underwriter's like, and it's like, oh no, oh boy,
Yeah, here we go.
Strap up. But then the sales team needs to think about credit. I mean, when I'm sitting there looking at a deal, I'm starting at like a no, and it's like, convince me why I should do this deal. And you have to put that credit brain on and just be like, well, what about this? Or what if this happens? Or,
Right.
And be really skeptical, So I just love the whole craft of it all.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Man, feels like things are changing a lot in our industry. What do you think the biggest shift has been over the last 10 years?
Over the last 10 years, I would say the whole do what you do thing, the shift to let's, kind of throw out the SOP and just, you're conventional lenders. So apply that logic and that prudent lending and just kind of do it and just slap an SBA guarantee on it. That
didn't end so well.
No. And so that just to me was, when it came about, I was really flabbergasted, because I was, I've been doing this for a long time, and, the SOP worked and
where did that come from?
I don't know.
No one asked for that.
No. Well, I think that it was a product of the Fintechs, I would say, and because they just wanted to get the volume in, and they just wanted to, and so with all this SOP stuff in their way, they couldn't do the
that pesky SOP was in the way. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah. So their algorithms weren't working, and so they couldn't do the volume that they wanted.
It's so crazy because, fintech, obviously, so really it goes back to PP. So 2020, March, whatever, April, that's when our whole industry was kind of put into this alternative dimension over here. And
the fever dream.
We had like a 5-year fever. Exactly. And it's like, oh, wow. So that, I feel like, 2023, those sweeping changes was kind of the result of the fintechs entering PPP. And then obviously we've reversed all of that. And now we've come back to reality now, and we're picking up where we left off in like the early 2020, which is crazy.
You're right. And we kind of just did an about face, and here we are again. And what if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And we learned some lessons.
Yep.
And here we are. So that's a big shift. And I feel like the fintechs, it's like there's this whole, SBA is so special, such a special industry. And, there's the spirit of the program, which is not really referenced in any document, but we all understand it, which fintechs they don't understand it. They are looking at the document.
Right.
And it's like that missing piece is making them they're approaching it in a way where a lot of us are like, stay back.
Yeah.
But then for us, it's like, they got all these good ideas. Now they may not know how to implement it in a way that fits into the program, but we're here really reluctant to change. I feel like a lot of the time, like, we don't want to change anything sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true.
But then we're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
And I think you're right in terms of from a fintech standpoint. I feel like they're just looking at the numbers, and there's no heart in it. Versus the antithesis of that is us with our big hearts, but like you said, we don't have the processes and the efficiencies that we need. So there's has to be a marriage of both to make this work.
Right.
And I think that's honestly the next generation, because I sit in these meetings at conferences and I hear the people of, like ages talking about how they don't like change and that this process isn't working, and they don't trust AI and this and that.
Right.
So I think it's going to take the next generation to realize that, hey, AI isn't the enemy. We can make some things good as long as we do it in a smart way. And I just trust that they will. So I think that there's good things to come from AI and from just technology as a whole, efficiencies and things that are going to work, that maybe take a page from fintech and apply that to what we do every day. I think it can work.
Are you doing anything at your shop with regards to AI?
Not currently, but I picked up a few little tidbits during the conference, and I think I'm going to start applying some of those things.
Yeah, they had I was happy that they had some of that in the agenda.
Yeah.
Can't say too much, but
exactly. But sworn to silence.
I want to get into your new gig. You've been there, what, 4 months?
Well, since December. So what is that? 6 months.
7 months. Okay.
Uh-huh.
What's the kind of mission you're coming in to carry out?
In my current position, what I did was replace someone who was retiring.
Okay.
And so that kind of came as not a shock, because they knew that she was planning to retire, but it came probably far too soon for them, because she was an amazing employee and she was a very great manager, SBA manager. So really it was just an opportunity that I saw that I thought would fit perfect with what I do, because the shop is so much like what I'm used to in terms of the way it's structured. And so it just seemed like the perfect fit. And
amazing.
I was just so fortunate that it, came to be. The people are amazing. The bank itself, it's a smaller SBA shop. We have 4 BDOs, and we're not nationwide. We're West Coast predominantly.
Say the bank name.
West Coast Community Bank.
Okay.
Headquartered in Santa Cruz. And then, all up and down the coastline.
Are you doing 7A and 504?
Yes, 7A and 504.
Okay. So very cool. I mean, that's nice. I like these smaller shops. Not everyone
really
needs to be a
too.
top 10,
Exactly.
lender.
No, not at all. And we talk about heart, and the customers, they're genuinely customers of the bank that want SBA financing. And so
amazing.
I just love that.
Amazing that they could pick up the phone call, because like sometimes you pick up the phone, call your bank for an SBA loan, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But they pick it up, they get, you and your team, they're going to get lucky because you guys actually know what you're doing.
And everybody is, committed to that process and committed to making the SBA department, the continuity of it. And so it was kind of seamless, I have to say, me coming in, because she stayed on for 2 months, kind of, and so I was under her wing, so to speak, and I went to, on site for a couple weeks, spent time with her, and sort of mirrored her for a time, and then ended up just taking over and never looked back. And I think everybody seems to be, full speed ahead.
No, everyone didn't quit, or?
No.
Okay, that's
didn't
great.
lose anybody, and amazing people.
Had you worked with anyone before?
None of them.
Really?
No.
That's surprising.
I know.
Wow. That's so cool. You don't see that too often, I think, because no one ever retires.
Right. I know. and it was just, and it was such an organic thing to have happen. She retired. I kind of came in and, endorsed by her. So that was kind of smoother, She didn't leave under any.
She didn't get ousted.
No, not at all.
That's cool. And how long had she been there?
20 years.
What?
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah. So, you come in and it's a hard, act to follow, because she was beloved.
If you could be somewhere for 20 years, that's a good bank.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of banks out there trying to grow programs, some of them more aggressively than others. Just like in your experience, how should they be thinking about balancing growth with maintaining credit quality? Just what's your opinion?
Well, my opinion is that's the biggest challenge that we as SBA lenders face, because there is a certain amount of pressure to get your volume up and do the deal. And you always have to obviously be mindful of the back end of that, what could potentially happen. And, nobody has a crystal ball. So you just, you underwrite and you manage to the best of your ability. But then there's so many external factors that we don't control.
Right.
You know, the T word, they were calling it.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That guy's funny.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, so, I mean, that's just an example,
That's
one
tariffs.
example, but that's literally what we face is things like that, the changes that we can't anticipate, you know?
100%. The couple deals I'm having some problems with, it's like you look at them and I'm like, I would have made this deal 10 times over. But one was at the heart of the tariff issue, and another is a regulatory change that impacted the business. And it's like, it's hard to predict those things.
Right. Right.
Coupled with the interest rates. I mean, obviously, if you put a bunch of loans on your books in 2020 to 2022 and, you know, the rates jacked up after that, no one stress test at, you know, 500 bips. So
Right.
a lot of those portfolios faced a lot of pressure. And and then your regular just, you know, issues with borrowers, mismanagement, all the usual stuff. So balancing that, you think, is like that's really at the crux of doing this, right? Is
100%.
how do you? So
Yeah.
if I come to you and say I want to, you know, basically grow 50% year over year over the next 5 years and become like a $300 million shop, you would say,
Good luck with that. So to your point, though, you know, the external factors, I wasn't a BDO. I was at this institution, but we got down the road with an extremely successful business owner and her loan request. And it was a 504 loan. And we were so far down the road. We had appraisals done, environmental. We were ready to pull the trigger. And it just so happened that her company had 2 owners who were Chinese citizens. And within days, that loan was shot down because of the, you know, the citizenship ruling that came from the administration. So that's another one of those whoopsies that how could I anticipate that? I didn't
Right.
see that coming. The borrower didn't see that coming, you know?
Seen a lot of that. Like, it seems like every 6 months something drops where we've got to go through our pipeline and be like, hey, we can't do this loan anymore. Because that uncertainty, I'm hoping we're done with. Like, I really hope we can get back to normal.
Yes.
And
I hope
make
so.
incremental changes with notice. And
Right.
And also, remember we used to have what is it, those periods where you can give feedback?
Oh yeah, when there's a
It's like, hey,
they're
we're
going
thinking
to
about
publish
making this.
a policy or something, and you could send
Yeah.
your comments,
Remember
and
that?
they would consider
That
it.
was nice.
They'd actually listen, or maybe we thought they were listening. And they
Now
really
it's
weren't.
like something drops in the middle of the night and it's effective that morning.
But that was the way the SOP, when they did the do what you do thing. My boss, it was funny because his comment was, you know, it used to be, forget the metaphor that he used, but it was something to do with how slow the SOP generally changes. You know, you
Very
hear about it.
uneventful.
Yeah, and it takes, you know, years for any incremental change even to come about. And then that do what you do thing was like lightning fast.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that happened either.
There
That
was some
a mystery.
shenanigans going on for
Yeah.
sure.
For sure.
That wasn't your grandfather's SBA. That was a
No.
different SBA.
Exactly.
Diane, you've seen it all. If you look back, what's like one of the more memorable loans that you've seen get done?
Well, I do have a borrower that I was fortunate enough because I got this credit during the pandemic, this loan request, but we had this customer. She was a deposit customer, and she had this very successful business. For some reason, we connected, and I was really impressed with the way she did business and how she ran her business. And I thought, this woman is going to go places, and this business is going to go places. And so I've never ever done this in my entire career, but I nominated her for Businesswoman of the Year, and it was in 2019 that I put up the nomination for her and her company. And can I name her company?
Sure.
It's Sender One, and they are
Sender One. This episode's brought to you by Sender One.
And it's a rock climbing gym. And she started, I think she had 3 when we first started looking and doing business with her, but she has 6 now throughout Southern California. And when I first went to see her and I met with her, and I looked up at this rock wall, and I thought, who does this? I could never do this. And she looked at me and said, yes, you could. And I'm not kidding. Within weeks, I was climbing up those rock walls because of her faith in me. And so for some reason, we just connected. And I thought, okay, she had faith in me and I have faith in her. So I nominated her for Small Business Woman of the Year. She was picked, which was exciting because I'd never nominated anybody, and they selected her for her nomination. Or, they get invited to a lunch and it's a big ordeal. And so because of the pandemic, her ceremony,
Zoom.
Yes. Wah, wah. And it was really sad. And I felt so bad that, here all of this had happened. And, the good thing was because of her, they knew who she was. So during the pandemic, when she needed an idle loan, they helped her.
Front of the line, please.
Yes, exactly.
Right this way.
And she's never forgotten it. And she's always, been so grateful to me for nominating her, and also to SBA. I mean, she's the poster child for SBA.
Well, that's a great story because it's really why we do this, why the program
100%.
exists.
Yes.
We should be telling more of these stories instead of sitting around talking about the SOP all day.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. And what was it about her way of doing business that really made you stop and take notice?
I think because her heart was in everything she did. And, she had 2 little kids, but she was still running this business and running it so well. And I watched even through the pandemic, she had to lay off 60% of her staff, maybe more. And I saw letters that would go out to the staff, heartfelt letters. And you could tell that it broke her heart, but she had to do it because it was business. So she did all the hard things, but she did them with heart and in a way that her staff came back to her when she could rehire. And that just speaks volumes when that kind of thing happens. So I don't know if I could name just one thing in particular, but just in general, her business and work ethic was just something to be admired. And
she was a leader.
Yeah, 100%. You don't see that often.
No, it's great. And her helping you climb the mountain, it's like almost like what we do when we get a business owner through the loan, because they look at this pile of paperwork and they're like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this.
Yeah.
But the best lenders will put them on their back and be like, I'm gonna carry you across the finish line.
Yep.
That's what my buddy Jim Mueller told me. Do you know Jim?
Yes, I do.
Well, Diane, this was great. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're
I
very
really enjoyed
welcome.
it.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure.
All right, that does it.
Okay.
Ta-ta.
Thank you, Drew.
All right, that's it for this week's episode. If you want more SBA content, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter and check out our sister shows, SBA Today and The BDO Show. We'll leave a link in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode of The Art of SBA Lending. Ta-ta.